we're going to give 3 causes, as it were, for success, right? Concentration, consistency, and cooperation. What we're going to find is that each of these requires the development of the intellect. The question is how. So the first one is concentration. What is concentration? Focus. What is focus? Concentration. Alertness. Putting your mind into one thing. Yes, so this is our definition. Good. So he describes concentration as your intellect holding the mind on the present action without allowing it to slip into the past or future. Any simple example you can take. In fact, I think we've used this one before. Imagine that you are going in for surgery and you're sitting in the waiting room about to go in for surgery, and the surgeon comes in and his clothes are disheveled, his hair is a mess, black marks under his eyes, red eyes, he's been crying or something, and the nurse says, "Surgeon, doctor, sir, what's going on? What happened?" "My wife has left me. She took the dog, she emptied the bank account, she took the Tesla, and she's gone." Well, she's only going to get 300 miles. Okay. What do you say to that surgeon? Take a week off. Relax. Write yourself a prescription. Go get some sleep. I can wait. My knee's not that sore. It's really, in fact, it's feeling better already. Because you know he's not going to be concentrating on that activity. As a result, he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do to get the result, which is to perform an effective knee replacement. Okay, again, really simple example. But the point is that every moment, all throughout my day, what am I doing? I'm performing some sort of action in order to achieve some sort of result. If I'm not concentrating on it, then what it means is I'm not going to perform the action as well as I would like or as well as I need to get that result. It's not as something as severe and obvious as botching a surgery. It might be writing an email to a colleague. What tone of language will I use? What phrasing? What words will I pick? What time of day will I send it? If I'm not concentrating, I'll do it half-heartedly, or half-mindedly, or half-intellect, and as a consequence, the action is not done as well. And what do I say afterwards, or next week, or next month, or next year? I haven't achieved the success or the result that I want. And I'm frustrated because I don't know why not. And so the tendency is to say, well, very difficult dealing with these people. The guys I've got to work with, they just won't listen to me. Or the computer system doesn't work properly, or there's some problem that we attribute out there. And that may be true. There are always going to be limitations in the external environment. But what we fail to do is to say, what's my part? Maybe I didn't do the job as well as I could have. And the problem is we won't know. We won't know where we lacked concentration and where we didn't, unless it's something as extreme as botching a surgery. And so if we want to be effective in the implementation of our causes, we have to develop concentration. Intellect holding the mind. So the intellect is like the banks of a river. The mind is like the flow of water. If the banks of the river are weak, then you get a flood. If the banks of the river are strong and deep, then even when you get a deluge, it can handle all of that powerful water and channel it where it needs to go. In fact, you can then use that powerful flow of water to generate electricity for the benefit of everybody. So too, we have this powerful flow of mind, our emotions.
Is it a taming of the mind?
It's not so much the taming of the mind, although that's an aspect of it. It's rather the ability for you to redirect it where it needs to go.
Okay, my intellect may be sharp, but is there a such thing as the mind has a problem into tapping into the intellect, the flow of the intellect into the mind and mind into the intellect? It's a two-way flow.
It's not a two-way flow in the sense that the mind is more gross than the intellect. The intellect is subtler than the mind.
But doesn't the mind have to listen to the intellect?
There has to be a harmonious relationship, yes. But this harmonious relationship is guided by the intellect in the same way that you have a 5-year-old niece, nephew, child, grandchild, whatever, right? You have to have a harmonious relationship. Who leads in that harmony? The adult.
And when it happens at that subtle level, how do you make the mind listen into the intellect, or the intellect to rule over the mind?
So the reason we call it subtle is because we haven't developed our intellect. Let's say I have really bad eyesight, and I say, that writing on that exit sign is so small. It's not small, it's huge. I've got such bad eyesight that I can't see it. So I say, what my mind is doing, it's so subtle. It simply means my intellect doesn't have the acuity and the strength to be able to recognize what's going on. Now, of course, the mind does have subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler aspects. Of course it does. So the job then is to improve my eyesight so that I can see. The job then is to improve the function of the intellect so that it can handle each subtle aspect. And as subtle and as strong and as sharp as my intellect is, to that degree it can manage that part of the mind. Anything beyond that, I can't. Any more than I can't make myself see small writing if I don't have good eyesight. There's nothing.
So the intellect is just there, it has no power to move out, but the mind is like our arm or leg that can walk out and do all the work for us.
The intellect very much has the power to move about. In fact, the intellect has more flexibility. It has more degrees of freedom than the mind does. The mind can only go to areas already known.
Yeah, the intellect can go beyond that.
Yes.
But it's training of the mind to go to that goal.
Yeah, in terms of training the mind to go to that goal, it simply means conceive of it. Yeah. When you conceive of it, the mind naturally follows. This is where we use the analogy of the banks of the river. Where do you want the water to go? Well, just dig a channel and the water will flow.
So you keep on giving us this example about a diabetic patient.
Mm-hmm.
That they know what is good and what is bad. They've been told what is. The intellect even knows. But why does the mind still go and get it?
Yeah, the mind is stronger than the intellect. And that's where you put it beautifully, because you said the intellect knows what is right, and yet it doesn't choose what is right. Why not? Because the mind is stronger than the intellect at that moment. So just understanding conceptually something is only a very, very surface function of the intellect. Yeah, we should never confuse knowing lots of stuff with having a strong intellect. Of course not. So who knows better than a smoker that smoking is harmful to their health? They know better than a non-smoker, and yet they continue to smoke. Knowing something, having information, is just a very gross, as it were, a very superficial function of the intellect. The capacity to guide the mind towards what it knows is correct is a much more powerful function of the intellect. And they're different things, same intellect, but with different functions. The intellect guides the mind from where it currently is to where the intellect knows is in its best interests. So go back to the example of the diabetic and the sweet. Currently the mind is in the place of I want sweet, I want sweet. That's where it is. So what do you have to do? You have to guide the mind from where it is now to another place, which is, no thank you very much. I would prefer to be without sweets. How do you do that? You do that through discrimination, through questioning, through knowledge. I know that sweet, if I eat it, will make me sick. Therefore, I should say, no, this is discrimination, this is questioning. This is the method by which we guide the mind. You question your own mind, understand what it's doing, and then ask yourself, what is my ideal? What is my obligation? Where do I want to be? Not where does my mind want to be, where do I want to be? I want to be at good health. Well, does eating the sweet take me to good health or not? This is the method by which the mind is being guided. And if the mind is too strong for the intellect, even when we go through this process, I find that what's happened is, I want to say, no more sweets, no more sweets, no more sweets, no more sweets, no more sweets. As much as I'm trying to go that way, but the wind is too strong and it's forcing me that way. I'm putting effort in that direction, And what's happening? I'm going in that direction because the wind is too strong, even though I try to go that way.
Like all of our intellect is not the same.
Correct.
All of our minds are not the same. There is an engineering in all that engineering is different in different persons.
Yeah, each person has different strength of mind, different strength of intellect, and for different objects. I have no problems with sweets, perhaps, but I have a problem with alcohol. You're the opposite. You have no problem saying no to alcohol, but you can't say no to sweets. So we've all got different natures, different strengths of intellect, different strengths of emotion. So the problem is not to just tame the mind or to make the mind quiet. Don't you want a powerful mind? Don't you want incredible passion and incredible strength? Yes, of course you do, but strength and power is nothing without control. In fact, power is dangerous without control. Yes. And so you want to have that powerful emotional flow, but you must be able to channel it effectively. So that's the development of the intellect. So this is concentration. As a consequence, it improves the quality of the action. So one quick word on the distinction between concentration and mental absorption. Let's say you're watching your favorite movie. It's 3 hours long. Your favorite movie is, say, Titanic. And you sit and you're just totally into that film. Nothing else in your awareness except that film. And then you read a bit about this and you say, oh, marvelous concentration I've got. For 3 hours, nothing but that movie. I have tremendous capacity to concentrate. Okay, of course you don't necessarily. All that this is that the mind is absorbed in something that it likes. Right? And this is especially dangerous in this field because the idea of meditation is a highly concentrated form of concentration. Often what people mistake for meditation is mental absorption in a feeling that they like. So they invoke maybe a figure like a deity, or they invoke a picture of a flower or another beautiful scene, or even a mantra that they like, or a feeling of quietness, or the flow of kundalini through the sushumna nadi, whatever it happens to be. And all that's happening is that because the mind likes it, it just gets absorbed. And I think I am concentrating, I think I am meditating. I'm not. I'm merely absorbed in something that I quite like. This is the opposite of concentration, and it has the opposite effect that meditation ought to have. So you take another example. Now you have to watch a 3-hour video on the changes to the tax law. Changes to the federal and state tax laws.
Oh, tax laws, okay.
I would love that.
Okay, you get the odd person who would be absorbed.
And the CPA would love that.
The CPA. Can you sit and be as focused on that for 3 hours and not be thinking about the watch and the lunch and coffee and anything else? No, of course not. If you can do that for 3 hours, then you can say my concentration is amazing. 3 hours, nothing but that horrible, horrible tax video. So this is just a distinction we need to draw between concentration and absorption.